So welcome to this session today. We had some delays, but we'll start. So we are on spatial tools for planning and managing areas to reduce biodiversity loss of target 1. I'll be talking about module 2, session 9, developing interactive data dashboards. So we shall be discussing how we can be able to develop nice dashboards to present our data and inform decisions at a glance. So why use ArcGIS dashboards for CAM GBF target 1 monitoring? So one of the reasons we use ArcGIS dashboards is one, it allows real-time visualization of critical spatial and statistical biodiversity data. So ArcGIS dashboards can be able to be linked to data collection. By this, I mean you can be able to configure your survey 123 data collection form, convert it into a feature layer, and that feature layer can be configured to be producing a web map so that now that web map can be integrated into the dashboard. So now that will allow you to have a live update and real-time visualization of your field data. And that data is normally plotted on a map, and that map feeds into the dashboard. So you can be able to create that automated and real-time updating workflow to ensure that you have a proper data display or data visualization platform. And that's a one-page layout that we normally create so that you have your statistical summaries in place. And this will enable you to come up with preliminary decisions before the actual or the comprehensive data analysis. Number two, it enables a continuous tracking of ecosystem integrity, connectivity, and management effectiveness. So when you're trying to manage your protected areas or your biodiversity, forest or seascape ecosystems, you normally want to have a periodic or a regular check on how your areas are doing. So these dashboards will enable you to track these ecosystems by having computations or summary statistics being output on the dashboard, and also other maps and other elements of the data analysis. So these ones are normally incorporated within the dashboard so that you're able to ensure there is that connectivity from the field data collection to mapping and then to reporting. Now that will enable you to have an effective way of communicating and disseminating your information within these areas. Another point on dashboards is that it facilitates transparent reporting to all stakeholders, fostering trust and accountability. So by this, I mean, whatever is reported on the dashboard, whatever is configured in the dashboard has originated from the actual data set from the field. So there's no other biasness or other data that will be on the dashboard unless it's that data set that has been relayed from the field or collected from the field by these enumerators. So the actual data set will now have 0 errors, thus improving its integrity and also reliability of that data set. Now, once that data set is transformed into statistics or analytics, it will now come and improve people's trust in the data set that's being provided or the information that's being provided, and that finally leads to accountability. You can't be able to know who did what at what stage before that dashboard was produced and reporting was done using the summary statistics that were realized from the data set that you've been analyzing. Another important issue is that it also supports adaptive management decisions by providing up-to-date insights. We talked about earlier, there's a way you can be able to configure your workflow to be automated and also be able to have a real-time update so that when you collect data, you create maps, you create dashboard, you're able to have these statistics or analytics on your dashboard, and that will enable you to have some up-to-date insights. And as you make decisions, you're able to reference your decisions or policies based on the analytics that you've achieved. So that is an important point, because with these dashboards, you can be able to make these decisions easily, and it's a data-driven dashboard. That means it's an evidence-based decision-making process, since you rely on the dataset or on the activities that you've done or analysis that you've done before you make decisions. So the core components of an effective KMGBF dashboard, what are these? So when you talk about effective dashboards, we mean you have to configure some of the core or important elements so that you make sure you're communicating and your target audience can be able to get you clearly. So the first component is on the key indicators. So indicators, these are just number cards. These are numerical figures. So if you want to know what is the coverage of a certain area in kilometers squared, that can be used as a numeric value. So an indicator is just a numeric value that normally portrays the metrics like I talked earlier: habitat integrity, area under management, connectivity to source for quick assessment. So this is a numerical value or an integral value that's normally displayed from the attributes that you selected. So you can select a field with attributes kilometer squared, and you display it as 10,000 kilometers squared or 10,000 elephants, 500 vultures. So those are some of the numerical values that you can be able to incorporate within the dashboard. Another thing is interactive map. So a map gives your dashboard a spatial context. So a map is to give your data the spatial context. Where has this occurred? Where is this area located on the surface of the earth? So that's what encompasses a map. So a map should have the thematic datasets, and it should also have the base map. And the base map gives the spatial reference to this thematic map or thematic datasets. Where does this data fall on the Earth's surface? And you should always be able to configure your interactivity elements within your map so that now people can be able to interact and query and even download your datasets if need be. So they normally portray the current ecosystem conditions, and this is relevant when you're trying to develop a dashboard because all the attributes will be in the map. So whatever you'll be calling into your dashboard, be it indicators or be it serial charts, will be from the attributes of your map elements. Another component we talk about is the charts and graphs. So this one, they normally give you a visual trend. So you can have a line graph, a bar chart, so that you're able to compare between different series. So you can be able to plot area based on specific conservation areas or protected areas. And when you plot that, you can have that comparison. You can also plot per year so that you have a trend. Let's say, for example, you are trying to monitor the changes in land use within that specific area. You can be able to plot either a line, a bar, or even a pie chart and be able to compare different entries in your data set. Then one of the most important elements is the filters and actions. So filters, it normally allows you to create that interactivity within your dashboard. So you can be able to connect different components, different elements of your dashboard to be responding once an action has been initiated. For example, I want to know how many PS are in Kenya. So I'll set my dashboard. If I click on Kenya, you should be able to zoom to Kenya on the map and be able to pan to that area. And once it pans, you should be able to even have a pop-up on the total area coverage of that protected area and other attributes or metadata that will be set up in fields of the dataset that is under scrutiny. So these tools are very important because they make your dashboard as interactive as possible, and you're able to query your dashboard, you're able to interact with it for you to come up with your decisions. So on the next topic is about building indicator cards for target one metrics. So you make sure that you provide a concise way to visualize your progress. So by this, we mean you have to set up your cards clearly so that these metrics can be understood by the user or by the end client of your product. So for example, you can be able to display numeric values such as percentage area under participatory spatial planning. Because you're talking about planning, you can be able to present specific areas for specific zones. So when you're doing that spatial planning, each plan has areas, and you can be able to compute individual percentage coverage of that specific area within your plan. So if you set up an area for ecological or for monuments, you can be able to compute that area based on some calculations. Another example is that you can be able to show areas of high biodiversity importance. And now this one will enable you to come up with effective management strategies. So you cannot have areas of biological importance and fail to come up with strategies to conserve or preserve them better. So these strategies are normally extracted from what you portray in your dashboard or what you communicate in your dashboard as numbers. Then you can be able to even configure your values to clearly show the progress against 30 by 30. So when you are configuring your dashboards based on these targets, you can be able to come up with such metric so that you compare how far are you from achieving your target. And all these targets can be marked or scored against the current status. And the last point is that you can be able to apply conditional formatting using either colors. For example, if something is doing bad, you can have red. If something is not doing well, you can have yellow or orange, so that there's that progress. So you have a progress that you can be able to incorporate within your dashboard, so that in case you present that dashboard, it will be able to summarize everything. So you won't get a question, what does this color mean? But people can be able to get that progress at a glance with using these different colors, and they can be able to identify which areas that need attention, that need more efforts in terms of conservation and protection. Now, when you talk about visualization of data, maps and connectivity analysis, so we discussed about interactive maps. So, and these ones are very effective and they are very central towards us understanding the spatial aspects of target one or another target that you'll be analyzing within your work. So first point is that you should be able to integrate your ecosystem condition and connectivity layers. And this will be able to show your habitat integrity and fragmentation. By this, I mean, once you configure the right color codes, the right figures, they'll be able to compute automatically. So for example, if you have a value like 10 to 100, it's white, 101 to 600 is yellow or orange. And then if you have a value of 1,000, that is very risky. So you can be able to come up with those scenarios so that now you're able to show how your ecosystem is really fragmented, or there is high possibility or high integrity of what you're trying to present. Then we mean another thing is that you can be able to use heat maps and then or chloroplet maps. So these ones are normally used when you are trying to identify hotspots. So you want to identify hotspots, or you are trying to identify areas that need successful protection efforts. You can be able to use these two types. You have a heat map or even a chloroplet map, which shows the intensity or the variation in terms of protection and also hotspot of biodiversity. So this helps you to identify these areas that need maximum attention and areas that need less attention, though they are still within your protection mandate. So another thing, you're able to toggle layers. Toggle means you're able to change the visibility. The layers are normally you can have like 3 layers, 5 layers, So you can be able to just turn it off, turn it on. So the dashboard should also be able to allow you to have a map that has layer visibility settings. And this also applies to the base map switcher, and then this area of visibility. So you make sure that when you're setting up your maps, the layers are normally able to be either off or on. If you don't need to view like 20 layers, you can be able to just select which layers you want to be visualizing. So allow your user to toggle or change the areas that they want to visualize. So this will also help in providing comprehensive views once the user wants to dig deep into your map that contains all the datasets that you are having. So one of the examples of biodiversity habitat index, so you're able to reflect on species biodiversity retention. This will enable you to offer clear visual representation of the conservation success. So through these maps, so when you have good maps, chlorophyll maps, heat maps, you'll be able to now allocate your resources effectively and efficiently, thus ensuring that these areas are clearly or are effectively managed and protected. Now, what are some of the interactive features that will enhance user engagement? So when you're developing your map, you're developing your dashboard, make sure that you set these interactive elements that will bring your dashboard into life. And once the user goes to your dashboard, they're able to engage with it effectively, thus not being distracted, and this will enable him or her to get all the information or make decisions at a glance. So one of the most preferred interactive feature is the cross-filtering. So cross-filtering, as explained, is that you enable your dashboard to allow a user to select a certain region on the map. And this, once the selection is made, it dynamically updates or provides updates of all the indicators or all the charts or all the components of the dashboard that might have been set up within that dashboard. So why this? Because we need the user to have a localized experience. So with the localized experience and insights, it means they want specifically a certain locality. So when you click like Kenya, Uganda, if you click on a particular country or a particular area or a particular polygon, it should be able to just switch to that specific area. And once it switches to that specific area, it should be able to bring up all the statistics. So let's say if it's an integer, if it's an indicator, it should be able to bring numbers. If it's a pie chart, it should be able to bring up the comparison between one or two features that have been mapped. If it's a serial chart or a bar chart, then it should have to have that graph well plotted based on the area selected. Then time sliders, they normally help when you're doing trend analysis. So time sliders will effectively be configured so that when you are doing a comparison between years, you're able to track progress and identify patterns or even gaps. So if you're doing change analysis, for example, I mentioned land use change or management effectiveness over multiple years. So that means you'll have to have these time sliders, and time sliders will allow the user to either choose the year or even slide to the year that they want, so that they also visualize what was there before and what is there today. And from that, they can come up with some patterns. So let's say annually the area is increasing by 10. So maybe they can come up with some correlation measures and also have some either interpolations or extrapolations from the identified patterns. So if you ask me like what will happen next year, from the dashboard, I should be able to even predict based on the trends that I have identified from your data set. Then we have another component which you're calling the pop-ups. So pop-ups, these are just information pop-ups. So they give you the more information about what you've selected. So for example, it can be on hover basis or on a click basis. So on hover means if you hover over a particular area or a polygon, it brings that information pop-up. And on click, it means you have to physically click using your mouse so that you have all the attributes of that point or polygon popping up. So if it's a protected area, if you click on that protected area, it should be able to output all the details about the protected area. So these are the comprehensive metadata or source information. So metadata, this is just an explanation of your data set, and the data itself has attributes. So this descriptive information and metadata is what you're calling the pop-ups. So allow users to access these pop-ups so that they know what your data is comprised of. Then export options. So ensure that the user can be able to easily export data when they are doing their reports. So you don't want a user to struggle with the reporting to their managers or to their heads. So make sure the data can be easily exported for reporting, and also to allow seamless sharing between the policymakers, decision makers, and other stakeholders. So you can't report without exporting the data set. So a case study is a case study we identified. So monitoring biodiversity progress with dashboard. So nature serves biodiversity indicators dashboard. So these are dashboard that we have. We also have our own dashboard that I'll be demonstrating through this session, so that you see how it is normally used to track conservation efforts across these ecological areas or scales, thereby providing a good view of your biodiversity health. And when you analyze these dashboards, you are able to have strategic conservation investments, thus reducing some of the deteriorating effects or rates in critical areas. So these dashboards can be able to support evidence-based decision making, and thus contributing the achievement of these KMGBF targets. So make sure when you're creating a dashboard from what we'll be demonstrating, you will have those factors being considered. What are the best practices for dashboard design and reporting? So as the organization embarks on developing these dashboards, you make sure there are some aspects of best practices that will inform your dashboard design and reporting. You just don't want to develop a dashboard for the sake of developing, but you need to develop a dashboard for the sake of communication. And once your dashboard communicates, you're able to come up with decisions. So what we'll discuss here are some of the best practices. We don't mean that you should, these are gospel truth, but with more research, this is the summary that you've come up with. So user-friendly design, make sure that your dashboard is very clear, concise labels, and intuitive navigation for an optimal user experience. By this statement, I mean, make sure that your dashboard is minimal. So don't fill your dashboard with a lot of stars. Make it clear, make it clean. Let it be straight to the point, that is concise. And let's have some dynamic and interactive navigation elements. These navigation elements, you have the panning, the zooming, and then the flashing. So when you're doing your dashboard, make sure that you have all these elements being able to offer optimal user experience. You don't want a user to click on a particular aspect and then it fails to take him or her to what they were looking for. So as you develop your dashboards, ensure these dashboards are very, very communicating. So let them communicate effectively and in a very clear and concise manner. Then visual clarity. So on visual clarity, make sure that you have good graphics. Make sure you have some good formatting. And formatting, I mean, on the front end. This is not at the back end. On the front end, make sure that it's visually appealing. and also readability is ensured for the user. So if you are using colors, make sure you use proper colors based on the branding guideline of your organization or institution, and don't mix a lot of colors. Yes, it should be colorful, but it should also be visually appealing. Then also make your components be readable. Don't use words that cannot be read by another person. So if you decide on English, make sure that you have all the things done in English so that the user cannot be struggling to understand what you are trying to pass across. On data accuracy, so make sure that your data is accurate so that it displays the latest results, because you don't want to display a dashboard that has 2019 dataset, yet some users have 2025 dataset. So if you are presenting the obsolete or outdated data, that means you're losing your integrity. So people will not be able to trust your data, and they'll not be able to use it as expected. So as you check into your data accuracy, also make sure that there's data currency. So data currency goes together with data accuracy. So this will help your users to trust it and also utilize it in their day-to-day activities. Then stakeholder engagement. When you're developing a dashboard, don't just develop what you know, because from my perspective, I'm a technical person. Then you have a conservationist, you have a journalist, you have a GIS expert, you have the user, the people, now the grassroots users, the grassroots communities. So when you're developing this dashboard, make sure that you seek their contribution. What do they expect? What does the dashboard want to communicate? What do they want to disseminate to the other users? So this ensures the relevance and also maximum usability. If you develop a complex dashboard and impose it to the users or people you didn't consult, it will not be used. It will just be there, and you'll report in your work plan or in your work schedule that you developed a dashboard, but you find out that it's not being used. So if you want maximum usability, make sure that you consult the relevant stakeholders who are involved in that work, so that as you develop it, it will be accepted. Once it's accepted, it will be relevant to them. Once it's relevant, it will be used. So it's all about acceptance so that they own it. Relevance, it's addressing their issues. They can be able to deduce some information, and when it's utilized that way, they'll even share it. They'll be the ones marketing your dashboard. So they'll be going to other people telling them, oh, look guys, we have this dashboard communicating 1, 2, 3. Would you like to have a look? And that will increase its usability. So make sure you engage all the right partners and stakeholders. So in conclusion, so we should be able to empower biodiversity conservation through dashboards. So make sure you have a dashboard in your conservation efforts, because these are some of the tools that help you to monitor, be able to report, and once you monitor and report, you're able to drive an impactful action on these KMGBF targets, not only target 1, but even other targets, because the same development procedures, the same technical knowledge that you need to develop the dashboards. And lastly, make sure you are able to convert or even transform your complex data set into actionable insights. So when you are approaching decision makers, you don't go with a complex thing. Make sure you have a clear and a concise dashboard that will be able to provide this insight for government, communities, and conservations alike. So there are these decision makers or policy makers that need to see your work. So don't make it as complicated as possible, but make it as easy as possible. Let it communicate in the easiest form possible. Because if you want your dashboard to be utilized, you make sure that even the local communities are able to understand what you are passing across, not only for conservationists, but or technical teams, but also for other users. They are the ones who will catalyze your conservation activities or even your conservation efforts. So as you develop them at your institution level, you make sure you have those briefs, those clear and concise aspects within your work. So thank you so much for following our presentation. So you can follow us on the community, rca-community.rcmrd.org. You can follow us on Facebook, X, RCA ESA, LinkedIn. You can check for RCA and then you can watch us on YouTube, RCA ESA. So thank you so much. So that was our first session. I'll end there. Unless there's a question from the team, feel free to drop your question in the chat box. We can unmute you to ask a question before we move to the next session.